Alright, so Seattle Regionals 2012. We have Paco here with his Infernity deck profile. Paco ranked 15 today. So yeah.
Alright, yeah, so Infernity decided to go back to my roots and played this deck off and on for years. So let's get right into it. It's basically the monster lineup is about the same. 3 Infernity Necromancers, the 3 Infernity Archfiends, and I'm actually playing the Beetle build, and I'm going 3 Beetles. Like, I've seen a lot of builds online that they're saying to just play 1 and up Danny, but I love this card. It's so good. It'll get you to the 8s without you having to waste the Necromancer. It'll go to Trishula really quickly. It's amazing. I enjoy it. I'm going 2 Dark Referees. I thought about going up to 3 because I don't play Stygian Street Patrol, and I do play another card that I'll pull up right now that I kind of want to take out because he's only okay in the card, but I don't want to play 2 little monsters, and I'm playing 14 right now. And this is the guy that I might go up to 3 on because he's amazing. I love getting this guy. He's never not good, unless I don't get another monster, but I would rather get him and nothing else, and just a bunch of those traps and handful of monsters. I only play 1 Infernity Mirage. I've had people tell me to play more, but 1 is really all you need, because if there is a bad hand, it's when you get this. It's when you get multiplities, because you can't do anything with them. They just sit in your hand. You can throw them out defense. You can't be special summons from the grave. Like 1 is fine. It really is. It makes the deck more consistent. It's less sacky for sure, but it's more consistent. 1 Infernity Avenger, again, I'm going to the Beetle build, so I'm only playing 1 of this guy. I don't get the 100 Eyes loot as often as other decks, but I also don't lose as often as other decks. I'm playing a tour guide, and this is the card that I mentioned before. I sort of was just testing it today. It did okay. Like, there was never a time when I drew it and I was like, oh, this card. I mean, edit that out. No, there was never a time when I drew into this and I was just like, oh man, tour guide again. Like, it was always okay, but it was never like super amazing. But I don't really want to play Stygian Street Patrol instead of it, because Stygian Street Patrol also is only okay, and it adds to the sack, I guess, but if you start with a Stygian Street Patrol and a bunch of other monsters, and that's always what I'm thinking about, how good it'll be in just like a handful of crap, because I tend to have that kind of luck, where just like get a handful, like 3 or 4 monsters. And that's my monster count, and that's 14 monsters. Before the tournament started, just yesterday, I was actually at 15 and I was playing 2 Mirages, but I was testing it at a locals, and 3 times at that locals I started with 2 Mirages, and I was like, I'm not having any of that. Next is a spell lineup, and 12 spells, and starting off with the basics. Monster Born, great card. Foolish Burial, again, just to get the stuff engraved. It's a quick spell, sends off anything you might need. It's a little less good since I don't play Stygian Street Patrol, but I still really like that card in this deck. Book of Moon, just because it's Book of Moon, it's a stop, it's amazing. 1 for 1, I love this card. I may only play the two level 1s, one of them being the tuner, the other one being Mirage, but I would never take this out. It gets rid of the card in your hand. It's part of the God hand, which I got today. Actually, it was pretty amazing. Ended up with like 4 Synchros out and 3 Barriers face down. I love it. Heavy Storm. Some builds don't play Heavy Storm, but I can't not play Heavy Storm. It's Heavy Storm, and the way the deck is, you sort of have to have it. You can just. This guy just got an engine mat.
So this is what we're all kind of oohing about. It's Will right there.
What place did you get?
Will got 2nd place. Dino Rabbits, and that's his mat that he won in the binder. Yep.
Well, anyways.
Alright, back to Paco.
Sorry.
Sexy ass mat, although mine is equally sexy. I actually won this in Ohio. It's pretty sweet, top 16. Reinforcements of the army to grab. The only target I have is Greffer, but it's sort of like a third greffer without playing third greffer, and if I don't, I can always just like throw it face down if I don't need to activate it. Yeah. Infernity launcher, of course. The Infernity, I'd play it 4 if I was able to on this card. I only play 1 Mystical Space Typhoon because of other cards that I play, which I'll get to in the trap lineup. I've actually thought about switching those out and then going up to 3, but after playing today, I play a 0 max. It's not as good as the other Infernity. Like, well, it's not as used, I guess is the better word to say it, as other cards because it doesn't have Infernity in the name, so people are just like, oh, you can't enter your hand, blah, blah, blah. But it's another reborn. Like, it's another way to just get an Infernity out, and it's really good. It stops your battle phase, but who cares if you can't attack? You're just going to get a bunch of Infernity barriers face down anyways, and it starts things up, which is something that you need. You need as many bring back cards as you can get. I actually play a playset of Upstart Goblins. I have 43 cards in the deck with 3 Upstart Goblins, and the reason for that is because, like I said before, one of the biggest problems that I personally have with the deck is getting a bunch of monsters in hand, but I also don't want to make the deck too big because then it makes it harder to actually get your stuff off. So I put in 3 Upstart Goblins, so the deck is bigger, so I have like spells in between the monsters to not get those cloggy hands, but then they can also like just activate them and draw another card if I have to. So it's sort of like I'm playing 40 cards without having to play 40 cards. Trap lineup. 17 traps. Start with the basic. Solemn Judgment card is great. I've never not played in this deck. In this type of deck, very sacky. 1 Infernity break, just as something else to add. It's just a destruction card. It's great. I'm actually maining 1 Chain Disappearance, and it worked out pretty well a few times today. Even though I did not play 1 wind-up deck, and I only played 1 Inzektor deck, 2 Inzektor decks today, and I never got it off in turn 1. But I guess I got it off a couple of other decks, and it did pretty good. It did its job. I played 2 Call of the Hunteds. I would play as many of these as I could. It's another Reborn card, and this deck thrives off of crap like that. Like, it's just another card you can top deck into when you have nothing in hand, and that's what this deck needs, just living off the top deck. I play 2 Dust Tornadoes, and that's why I'm only maining the 1 MST. The reason for this was because I could set the Dust Tornado and maybe something else, and keep whatever I didn't want to get destroyed in my hand. So if they went for like a blind MST or something, I hit it, I can chain and then set. But that was only ever kind of okay. There were a lot of times when I would have these instead of MST, and I would wish that it was an MST so I could hit their back row really quick. So I sort of regret having those in the main deck as opposed to the side deck and just maining 3 MSTs. 2 Compulsory Evacuation Device. This is just a disruption card. It's great. If I had Fiendish Chains, which I do not yet, I would be playing them over these cards. But this card is it's solid. It gets rid of synchros, gets rid of XEs, it disrupts plays. It's good. I'm playing 2 Bribes because I don't like Starlight Road, and I don't want to have this deck without an answer to Solemn Judgment. And it's iffy, but I've always liked the card. I had it back before, and I guess before Heavy Storm was banned, but even now, it's good. I like it. I decided it out against a lot of people because there are definitely decks where it's not as good against, like Injectors and other stuff like that, but it was definitely a good card. I don't regret playing it. Solid Warnings, obviously. Infernity Barriers. Yeah. Infernity Barrier. And I'm playing Archfiend's Roar. I've actually seen this in more builds than I thought I would see them in online. And it's just another Reborn card for the only target is the Greffer, and I guess that's what I meant. Just the Archfiend, I didn't mean Greffer. And I guess one of the Thought Rule or something if you're playing it, but it definitely works. I don't think I ever got this card and I was not excited for it. This is a great card. Chainable, it's amazing. For the extra deck, I was playing 5 XCs, because 3 rank 3s because I'm playing tour guides and a bunch of rank 3s. Wind up Zen mains, of course. Number 17 Leviathan if the opportunity ever came up and I needed a beat stick. And Levier the Sea Dragon for epic combos with remove from play Infernity. Yeah. Because people think they're just like, oh, I'm a bottomless Arc Fiend, and now it's gone forever. And they're just like, okay. And this guy comes back, gets effect off, and just start looping. Which is what you're trying to do every time. You're trying to loop. Number 39 Utopia, he actually came in a lot. He was a lot more useful to me than I thought he was going to be. A lot of wins were just like off of this guy. It was amazing. Like he did his work. Gachi got Tetsu just for the Beatles if it ever came up, and there was definitely, like, I guess there was other cards that I could have played instead of, but I really like this card. There's always those moments where it's helpful. Synchros, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, the remaining 10 synchros. Trishula, of course. I got this off like 3 times in one duel. It was amazing. This guy composed it. I was like, what are you doing? But I guess you know how it goes. People at Yu-Gi-Oh! Infernity Doom Dragon, gotta play one. He's a boss monster for the deck. Synchro to him. He's going to come back every time unless or he's just going to stay on the field until you win. Stardust Dragon, mainly because I don't have a Scrap Dragon, but also he's okay in this deck, I think, especially when you start spamming and you know you can get out multiple little 8s. If you go to him first, you feel a lot safer than you would if you didn't. 100 Ice Dragon, just 2 of them since I'm only playing the 1 Mirage. Because I can loop, I just don't do it as often. Because my deck isn't meant to do that, but I definitely can do it. And playing the 2 of them did help me come back in a T. I was like just like a stun match. I ended up being able to MST skill ready and go from there. I ended up in the giant background at the end of that, which was nice. Played Brionic, my level 6, or one of my level 6s. And then I can't play this deck without 2 level 6s. And Orient Dragon isn't terrible. Like there's Gaia Knight, I guess, for his strength, but this guy has versatility. I can just pop him out. And usually the only time I ever bring this guy out is if I have the 2 Beetles and a level 4, I'll sync to this guy and then sync to a level 8, which is usually the Doom Dragon. My 2 level 5s, I have Justice Catastor, Magic Lantern. I don't play, what's his name, Hyper Librarian, because I'm not trying to draw anything. I don't go near that guy. And you need level 5s because if you don't draw into any Arc Fiends, usually the way it's going to go down, you're going to be playing with the Beetle and the Necromancer, and you gotta play hard with those level 5s. And then Armor Reason for the just in case moments. And he actually came out he was pretty useful today. I brought him out a couple times and I was happy I played him. Side deck. 2 chain disappearances, so I'm maining 1. I gotta have the playset in. I was too afraid. I got it. This card is amazing. Put it in your deck if you're playing. Forbidden Lance is another one. I love this card because it gets around stuff like Skill Drain, Shadow Imprisoning Mirror, other stuff that they're trying to bottomless. It just gets around stuff. It's a great card for game 2 and 3. I thought about maining it, but I didn't have room, so I was just in the side deck. It's a good place for it. Again, the 2 Mystical Space Heavens that I had in there instead of the Dust Tornadoes, I'm pretty sure I'm going to swap this after this tournament. I had 2 Smashing Grounds in because of Rabbit decks, and Dolk is a problem for me. Like, obviously, I have some answers to get rid of them but I really didn't want to go into the Rabbit matchup unprepared. And this actually did work for me because I played 1 Rabbit matchup and I was able to use that card in my victory. Dimensional Prison, because there are some decks where Compulsory Evacuation Device is definitely worse, like GKs, Stun decks, TGs, and where this card is definitely better, so I'll take out the Compulsories and put in the Dimensional Prisons for the hard removal. I never make this deck without playing Imperial Iron Wall, because I have a huge weakness to remove from play. And this card just solves it. This card turns the weakness that I have to like those annoying ass Macrocosmos decks that show up to every regionals, and it just completely flipped it against them. I went to the extravaganza in California a while ago, and the guy was playing Macrocosmos, and I flipped this on him, and he just didn't even know what to do. It was game over from there. It was amazing. I actually got it today, but I only ever got it the one time. I didn't cite it in. I just cited it in the one time I didn't have to go in, but I always put it in just in case. Goes in match. Great against Plant Synchro, great against Windups and Dino. And yeah, it's a nice card. I got it against my I had a plant matchup today, which was funny. It was like plant zombies or something, and it didn't work. I played the third Dark Bribe. I'm pretty sure I'm going to lose this for like a Dark Hole or something. But I have giant back row deck fears, like freaking skill drain. I don't like them. And that's why I was citing the third Dark Bribe. Like I had friends telling me it's greedy to play the third Bribe, but like I was trying to play the Bribe. And it actually, I put it in, and it was okay. Like I ended up playing against what was it, Counter Fairies, and it did work. So yeah, that's my deck, and I'm gonna make a few changes to it, and I'm hoping to take it to Long Beach.
What did you play? Remember like all the decks you played? You went 7-2 there, right? Yeah, 9 rounds.
Yeah, and I think the only deck that I played 2 of was Insectors. Everything else was different. I played zombie plants round 1. I played Freak. What did I play round 2? I think round 2 was my.
I know, I was trying to think back.
Yeah, it is.
But what did you just lost to?
I lost to Agents, and it was actually the same agent guy that beat me in the last Seattle Regionals. I was X1 going into the last round of that guy, just like he got me. And then going into this match, I was definitely like, oh man, it's this guy. He's gonna get me again. It was mostly the tech though. It wasn't even the agent stuff. In games 2, he had all the DD pros. He would sit there like somebody saying I crashed into my guy just to get those DD pros to his hand. And then I ended up getting Imperial Light Wall, but he was able to chain. And he had Transmigration Prophecy. It was sad. I was upset. And then I also lost to an Insector deck. He was playing the super sacky Insectors. He had Giga Weevil in, and he was trying to sack. Like he showed up here trying to sack some people, and it sucks because I was undefeated in that round. I was 4-0. He beat me, putting him at 5-0, and then he just like lost the rest of his rounds.
You got anything else to say about it?
Void, Ogre, Dragon. That's all I have to say. Void, Ogre, Dragon.
Thanks, Paco.
Yeah.